Hey guys, just wanted to show one of my K98 examples. This one is a BCD Gustloff K98. This one was made in 1944. Now this is the first year where they started using the single digit number for the year. Previous years they would use 43, 42, but 1944 they went to the single digit, which is kind of odd if you notice. Characteristic about these is that the 4 is a little bit offset to the left, so it's not center on the receiver. You have the 749, which is common, the fire and proof mark on the BCDs. That's what you want to look for. But I wanted to make this video because there is a lot of dishonest people out there trying to sell all matching number rifles when there really are not. So I'm not an expert, but I can show the details on this rifle, and it'll give you a pretty good idea what to look for when you're looking at a all matching Gustloff 1944 rifle. So one thing that the Gustloff factory did on all their small parts, even the ones that are not serialized, is that they have a letter I marked on all their small parts, and the acceptance mark, which is a eagle and a number 1 underneath. So you'll see that throughout their small parts. And for example, a spring, that might not be serialized, but you'll know if someone swapped it because it probably won't have this I, and you'll know if it's original to the rifle if it does have it. So on the side of the receiver here, you should be able to see also the eagle and the 1 underneath, and the letter, or the number 1, the letter I, sorry. And now this year is the first year where they started adding and mixing these phosphate parts into the rifle. 1944 was the first year where they started that, and it got to the point where you would actually see some examples where the whole rifle was phosphate finished. You can see the different colors here on the finish on the metal. Now if you see a 1943, 1942 with phosphate finished parts, I would question that. That's a red flag. They didn't do that until 1944. And again, you'll have the bolt with the suffix, also the letter suffix, and you should have the serial number back here. Now this one's a decent example. It's not perfect, it lacks a lot, but nevertheless, it's a decent example of a Gustloff 1944 rifle. You'll have here the fire and proof, the serial number, and the suffix letter underneath. Now these rifles, this one still has the machine parts on it, but these were also phased out into stamp parts later. Throughout the 1944, 1945, they started switching. Now this stock was sanded at one point, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna mess with it. Whoever had it, thought it would be a good idea, and they also thought it was a good idea to carve something here. I have no idea what they were trying to do. I don't know if the guy who brought it back was drunk and just decided to just carve something on there or what, but makes no sense to me. But again, not gonna mess with it. You have the cut butt plate on this rifle, which is good for this year. That's what you want to see. And again, you can verify if the stock matches underneath here. But if for whatever reason that's kind of hard to see, just know that this year was only made for the Army. So that means that you're going to find an H right here, which means that it was given to the Army. It was not given to the Air Force or to the Navy, so if you see that on this stock, it's probably the wrong stock for the rifle. It was only this year was only given, manufacturing was only for the Army. And it should also have a letter C right here. which is on mine is completely gone. I was told that for some reason the Gustloff rifles, this part of the rifle is usually thicker than most other manufacturers. But again, you know, if you have an example that was used heavily, then the thickness might vary depending on the use that they gave to the rifle. Now underneath is kind of interesting. You know, you have here a stamp part and a machine part. So again, you know, an example of when they started adding these cheaper, easier to manufacture stamp parts, such as this trigger guard assembly. The floor plate is still machined. So again, you know, a good indication that they basically grabbed a machine, you know, floor plate that had no serial number and forced the numbers onto there. Is, you know, this one has the 1 here, which designates the Gustloff factory. This discoloration is actually correct. I was a little bit worried about it. I was like, oh man, somebody messed with it, but that's normal. I kind of looked at some untouched Gustloff rifles, and that seems to be the case with a lot of them. I don't know if that was some metal hardening or, you know, treatment that they were doing for the floor plate, but that seems to be correct, so don't freak out if you see that. And then, so there's one more thing that you can take a look to that does not have a serial number, and that is the floor plate. This floor plate here, at least mine does, and I think a lot of 1944s is common. You'll see, you won't see a serial number, but you'll see the letter LXR in the follower, which is what you want to see for this year. Again, there might be some examples out there that don't have it, but I think in general most of them do have that designation, that letter designation on the follower. So that's something that you want to see on these rifles. The extractor and everything should also have a 1 here on the side. And again, all the small parts were just kind of marked with the letter I and the acceptance mark with the eagle and the 1. So basically that's my example. You know, just really quickly, if you happen to get lucky and you run into a BCD rifle with a thicker receiver, you found a really cool rifle. So the long side rail sniper rifles, you know, are basically the only rifle you can't really fake. And what I mean by that is that they were specifically machined to be sniper rifles. So you'll find some Gustloff rifles made in the same factory that were designated for snipers. And what they would do different is this receiver wall right here, this thickness would be a lot bigger than what I have on mine. So that thickness, if you find one with a really thick receiver wall, you found a rifle that was originally intended to be a sniper rifle, and it was not turned into a sniper rifle. Unfortunately, what most people do when they find that is they want to make a quick buck, so they'll turn them into sniper rifles, and you know, they'll say that they have an original sniper rifle. So that's a good indication that you got lucky and you got something that's really unique. And again, you know, the Gustloff factory also has some interesting rifles where they used machine gun barrels for their rifles. So 1944, you'll start seeing some barrels that they would use from machine guns, I guess, that they just had in stock. Didn't have any use for them, and they turned them into retrofit them into these K98 rifles, and you'll see the grooves here on the barrels. But again, I'll stop talking. I'll kind of just go through the rifle one more time and show you guys a little bit of the details. there you have it. Again, if you guys have any comments or I said something stupid that made no sense, please let me know. It's a high possibility. I'm not an expert, but I like to share some of these historical firearms. I think they're really cool, so let me know, and thanks for watching.